All right, so uh, some of these going to be very basic edits. Let's start off with this one that looks like a squashed. This one, 70 to 80. Everybody there? 70 to 80. All right. So, like I said, in our letter search, we were looking for some letters, right? And make sure you open it with Photoshop. Right click, open with, or Photoshop file open. All right. So, um, as always, what are we going to do with these? Well, you're going to put them together, kind of try and make your name, right? But as always in this class, we're going to output it in some format, right? So we're actually going to print these out on some paper. So I also want you to set up an Illustrator file. Let's go to Illustrator, and we'll do a new file. And we're going to do, make sure it's in inches. It's going to be a couple inches, a few inches longer than a regular sheet of paper. All right. Can you guys go to Illustrator now and make this document 14 inches by 8.5? And then look at the orientation, right? The little guy, the monito is lengthwise, right? So we want landscape, the other way around. All right. This is going to be our vehicle. This is going to be our print. We're going to print these out. See how nice they look. All right. You guys got it? Destiny? Eros? Yes? Okay. All right, I'm going to create it. So that's going to be our document that we're going to print from, right? Like I said, we always need to know what is it that we're making, right? What are we going to print out? How are we going to output it? In this case, it happens to be this document. And the technical term for this one is a legal size, right? It's a little bit longer than a regular sheet of paper. Up on the screen, it's going to look really long, but it's really not. All right. And that's where we're going to place our images when we're done. All right. Going back to Photoshop. Let's go back to Photoshop. We have to have both of those open. All right. So here's my first image, right? Now, before we do anything, we also have to know what size these are, right? And these are straight off of our phones. They're going to be very large, right? And how do we know that? We're going to check right now. But the first thing you're going to do is go to background, call that original, right? You guys that have been here before, we do that. Do Command J a couple times and make a couple copies so we see the before and after. Now, I like to lock them. I like to lock the bottom two layers additionally, and then turn off visible or not visible. Let me do that again. Call your original one original, double clicking on it. Command J a couple times. That makes quick copies of that layer. Oops, cancel. Lock, lock, turn them off. And remember, for it to work, you got to select a layer all the time. So I selected my top layer, my original copy. All right. So again, a lot of people don't like to do the image sizing, but it's just a few more steps than just placing an image, right? So we're going to go up to image, image size, and in this case, we have a very small document, right? 8.5 by 14. So remember, this is where you come in and change um, the actual physical size. Because right now, this is literally almost 6 of these tiles on the floor beneath you, right? Those are 12 by 12 inches or 1 foot by 1 foot. And these are almost 5 of them tall by almost 4 of them wide, right? So it's a pretty big image. So I want all the images to be 5 inches tall. So watch this, by however what the width is. But you got to make sure this little chain link is on so that, see how it has a little bracket? That tells you that whatever you do to the height, it's going to automatically proportionally change it to the width. So I'm going to have 5 as a height on all of them. And this is super critical. This is how we make a high res image, which is 300, but we're going to go 150. Just so these files aren't too big and they'll be sharp enough for this size. All right. 150 is like medium resolution, 72 is low, and 300 would be high, but 150 is good. So any of these images, you're gonna make them 5 inches tall. It should automatically put it at 3.75 by clicking on this, and then you say okay. All right. All right. Next step, very easy. That was probably the most difficult part. All right. We're going to use our quick mask mode. Some of you guys may remember this. You go to the brush, B for brush, right? Look at your brush sizes on the top over here. This thing keeps moving. Hold on. Right here, when you click on brush, your brush size will show up. Click on that little circle, whatever it looks like, if it's soft, smooth, whatever. And we're going to make the hardness 0 right here. Make sure that's 0, so it's a soft edge selection. Size of the brush right now does not matter. We're going to control that with our bracket keys. All right. Make sure you click back on that little brush icon, the size of the brush icon, to get out of that little window. If you don't do that, it won't let you out of that window. Sorry, I keep messing with these files here. There we go. All right. So the next thing, we have the brush. We have our brush size. And remember, you cannot have your caps lock on your keyboard. If you have it on, you lose the size of the brush. It will not show. That little circle is the size of our brush, right? And does anyone remember how do we make the brush bigger or smaller? Anyone? No? Why can't I zoom back out? Hold on. Oh, there it is. No one remembers. Brackets, left or right, next to the P, that makes the brush bigger or smaller, right? And since we have a soft brush, watch this. This is what we're going to do. Right? Brush, good size brush size, about like that, a little bit wider than the line, and we're going to see a K in here. Then we go down here to your toolbar, and you should see the quick mask mode. This is where it looks like you're painting the thing red, but it isn't. Some of you guys will remember right now. You click on it. That activates quick mask mode. And notice I'm on the wrong layer on mine. It should have been the top one. I don't know how I moved them by accident. Let's do that again. Quick mask mode. And now I'm going to brush right across that, right across this, and right across that. Right? It should look transparent. If you're painting black color on top of it, that's not correct. Let me do that again. Right? You don't want just a regular black color. You want to be in quick mask mode. Because if you're doing this, you're just spray painting it, right? We don't want that. Go back, brush, quick mask mode. And you'll see it turns kind of highlighted red, your layer. And we just kind of went like this. Right? Now, we go back to the same quick mask mode icon down here, and you click it. And that's how we get our selection. Right? And remember, what is selected right now? The inside part that we painted or the outside of it? Anyone? Eros, Destiny, anybody? What's selected? Yeah, everything but, right, Tatiana? Very good. So we need to Shift, Command I. Maybe some of you guys remember this. And just toggle back and forth. Shift, Command I. Do not do Command I because then you get invert colors and you get this weird stuff. Maybe you want that effect later, but Shift Command I. And now if you look, the selection is only inside, right? And this is where we can do Command L for levels. And this is where we can subtly kind of increase, almost, if you want to call it, it's not the contrast per se, but it's just the levels, right? So I make that accentuate more, like if it's more visible, right, without it looking too photoshoppy. Because if I overdo it, obviously that's too much, right? I'm just helping it out a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see on screen. I'm helping it out. I say okay, right? Command D is to deselect and get rid of any kind of selection. Now we haven't saved. Let's save, right? And we're going to save a brand new file. Command S, and you're going to name it letter K, PSD. We always leave it PSD because that tells anybody else that this is a layered file. All right, say okay. And then the last step, I do want these to look black and white, so we're going to use the adjustment layer option on Photoshop, which is just a filter, right? And you guys will remember it right now when I show you how it works. So we modified this image. We image size it to a 5-inch tall image at medium resolution at 150. We've gone in there and edited it with our quick mask mode to make the K show up a little bit more. And the last step is we go to layer. And some of you guys will remember this from last year. We have a new adjustment layer. And we're going to choose black and white. Remember, these are just filters. You'll see it right now. And it makes it look black and white. And as soon as you do it, you'll see a new layer up above it, which is our filter, which is our adjustment layer. And you can still kind of edit using some of these sliders. Remember, the image underneath is still color. So basically what you're doing is you're just kind of adjusting the filter that's on top. And you can just adjust it to where it looks a little bit nicer. Just whatever you think, right? We don't want it exaggerated. Some of these will give you an effect, some will not because of the color. I would say right there, I kind of like this dark look, right? Does it look like more like a K? What do you guys think? Anyone? Miles? Tatiana? Yes, right? All right, so let's hit save, Command S. And the last step is file. You can do a save as or save a copy, and we want a JPEG, right? So you're going to have a PSD, your layered file that you did your edit, and you're going to have a JPEG. And check it out. We're going to go to our Illustrator file. And we're going to place it, Shift Command P. We're going to place our JPEG. And it seems like a long process, but it's really not. There's just a few steps. And then I click it, and there's my K, right? And you're going to do that to each one and place the next one, kind of center them. Now, eventually you might run out of room, right? Say you end up with a very long one. That's fine, because once we have them all at 5 inches, we can grab them all, we can scale them down, right? And make them fit here real nice. That's just going to happen depending on the length of your name, right? Let's do one more together. Just the same process, right? You can close this one. I did this one because to me, the weed could be an O, right? I don't want to do that one. Let's see. There was a nicer one. Sorry. Let me get back over here. Downloads. Okay, that's the same one. Sorry. There's a plant. There's the one with me lying down. Let's do this one. Let's make an A out of it. Now, we can also do the crop tool, and I'm going to show you guys that one on this one. So let's go to background, call it original, Command J a couple times, right? Now this one, we're going to take the other way of kind of image sizing something, which is the crop tool. So C for crop, C right there. All right. Did everybody get that? And then yours might be defaulted to ratio, but let's go to width, height, resolution right there. And what this allows you to do, it allows you to type what we need here. So check it out. So we need the height, 5, the width, 3.75. But this is super important. If you notice, sometimes it'll default and it'll say points, PT. We want you actually go in there and type IN for inches, and it actually recognizes it. It didn't used to do this. If it had said points, you end up with a tiny image, right? So look how I put up here at the top. You have to type in IN if you don't see it. And then we said we're doing 150 on these, right? Not too high. So this is another way that we could image size something, in this case, crop tool, right? And if you know your Photoshop, you know you can do it both ways. All right. So having said that, we told it 3.75 inches by 5 inches by 150. Here's my image. And any place that I scale this down, whatever I end up cropping, and remember, I can rotate also. What if I want that? And you won't be able to tell that it's me lying down. Now I'm running out a little bit of image there. I will just go like this. Like that. Cool. I see a little bit of my hand, but there's nothing I can do there for now. Okay, I kind of like that right there. I hit enter. Guess what? My crop is now, if I go to image size, exactly what I needed, right? So there it is. This one, I don't even think I had to do quick mask mode, but I am going to what? Apply my adjustment layer, black and white. Say okay. Oops, I put it on top. There it is. It looks black and white to me. Also, if you want, get out of the crop tool by clicking on your regular arrow, because sometimes that can mess you up and you can accidentally click on that. Now, we can also still go and adjust it by using some of the sliders on the adjustment layer. Oh, that brought up the boots a little bit. All right, cool. This could also be a V, right? We could turn it all the way upside down and it could be a V. All right. So let's save this and call this Novo's legs letter A. I don't know. Or always save as PSD. File, save a copy as a JPEG. Right? See, it's the same step over and over. Right? We go back to Illustrator. We place our next letter. It's like playing Tetris. There it is. And it should be the same height. There's my other one. Now, check it out. Everybody watching real quick. You guys know how to use Illustrator at this point. What if I told myself, you know what, this K is not big enough. There's too much around it. I would like it larger. Instead of having to go back and do the whole edit from Photoshop again, what do you guys know how to do in Illustrator that's quick, that you can now make it a little bit bigger? Well, you do a clipping mask. So what if I draw a rectangle, any color, right? This is a quick way of using Illustrator. When you know Illustrator, you can do this stuff very quick. And say that I want the rock, it's a steel pole flattened with a hammer, a little bit bigger. And then I bring this over, because I know it's 5 by 3.75. Command what to make a clipping mask? Anyone? Clipping mask? Miles, clipping mask? Tatiana, clipping mask? Command what? Command 7. You guys, come on, lucky number 7. Look, I just modified the image. I know some of you guys are falling asleep on me. It's okay. So see what I did? Clipping mask. I didn't have to go back to Photoshop and edit it. I can just go here. You know what? I don't like that one. It's still the same image, but this one, I made the actual part that I needed a little bit larger by just doing a clipping mask. All right. I don't know what starts with KA. All right. Last one. And this one you don't have to follow along. I think you get the idea at this point. See? I don't like that one. Don't save. I guess that could be an O. There was one that looked like an L. Let's see. This one. Check it out. All right. So this one, don't forget, we can flip stuff, right? So right now you could say this is a J. If we flip it, this is a U also, right? And again, don't forget when it's not representational, can we flip stuff? Of course. First thing I want to do, check it out. Don't forget image rotation. What if I flip it horizontal? That means now it's pointing the other way, right? So that could be a J if you kind of blur this out and just emphasize this, right? Or a U, it doesn't matter, right? Same technique, double click, call it original. Command J a couple times. I do this one quick. Image size, or use your crop tool. I like the crop tool. That one's almost instant. Check it out. Look at that. Right there. Hit enter. I like the crop tool. It's a lot quicker. Now it's everything's the right size. Do a Command S. Call it letter U. Right? Letter U. And let's save the PSD. Let's go in there with the brush tool, quick mask mode. And I just kind of go over this. Right? Very rough, like that. Enter quick mask mode by clicking on the icon again. Shift Command I. Right? Command L if you want. You could even do a little sharpening, whatever you want, but this kind of emphasizes it. Made it a little bit dark. It's almost like somebody's airbrushing the back darker. And check this out. Shift Command I. Everybody looking? Now it's outside again. And could I do a little bit of a blur? Filter, blur, Gaussian. This is how if the photo you took, you don't want to overdo it. If the photo you took, the background's still too in focus and it's taken away from your subject matter, whether it's a person, just the background like this, you blur it a little bit, just enough to where it doesn't look fake, right? I'm about 1.8 on mine. Command D, it kind of emphasizes the shape, right? Look at before and after. It's kind of hard to tell, but look at how it emphasizes the shape of the U, right? And the last step, layer, adjustment layer. We want them all to look black and white. There it is. Save. Save a copy. JPEG, right? JPEG is the one we place. Go back to Illustrator. Shift Command P. Letter U. Right? There's my other one. Okay, so they all should be the same size. And then at the very end, once you have your name, if they go off the page, that's fine. We're gonna imagine that, and you can repeat if you want, if you have two A's. Kaja. I don't know what that means, but whatever. And then we can scale them down later. If you have way too many, we can just scale them down altogether to make them fit. That's not a problem, right? And then we're going to print these out, okay, as your word. Cool. Pretty simple. Yes, no, maybe, anybody? It's not too hard. And then don't forget to save your Illustrator file and call it my name, right? Just to play around a little bit with this. It's a pretty easy assignment. You guys should be able to do this very easily. This is actually a good project to do with little kids. I kind of did this with some of my nieces and nephews back in the day, right? If they're bored and you know what to do, and you have access to a computer or a printer, or even with your phone now, I'm sure you can do this, right? There's tons of apps, and do you have to print it out? No, not necessarily, right? But it's kind of cool. All right. Also, a reminder: tomorrow's Valentine's Day. If anybody has anything to print today, if you did something like this, real nice for someone's name, right? Could you go on to unsplash.com and find images, right? And do this right now? Sure. But this one's for you here for this class. Pretty simple. Anyone have questions? No? All right, I'll post that